If there's no rink completed, there's no NHL players going to the Olympics. That's what Bill Daly, the Deputy Commissioner of the NHL, told Matt Larkin of Daily Faceoff. We're 2 months away from the start of the Olympic Games, and this is still the conversation. To discuss that, here's insider Darren Dreger. Dregs, could NHLers really skip the Olympic Games?
Well, only if the arena isn't done. I mean, this isn't fear-mongering. That is the Deputy Commissioner, Bill Daly, of the National Hockey League, just stating fact. Now, the expectation from an NHL standpoint, from an NHLPA perspective, and likely from the International Olympic Committee as well, Gino, is that the venues in Italy will get done up to the standard that the National Hockey League requires. Now, are there concerns at this point? Absolutely there are concerns. I mean, that's not just shooting from the hip by Bill Daly. That's just stating the reality that if they do not pick up the pace, if the arena isn't safe, if it isn't completed, then there is the potential that the National Hockey League will not participate. But I'll repeat myself here. The expectation by all parties is that it will get done. And really this information stems from what Pete DeBoer, who's part of the Team Canada staff, said publicly earlier this week on radio, Gino, and that was just acknowledging that the ice surface is expected to be smaller than what is traditional in the National Hockey League. And I think that just kind of ripped off the Band-Aid, so to speak, with the facility issues that have been ongoing in Milan.
Wow, so much going on. Listen, Dregs, almost 2 years after prosecutors dropped the domestic violence charge against Milan Lucic, he was trying to make a comeback to the NHL with the St. Louis Blues, but they released him from his PTO from the AHL team last week. So what's the plan for him now?
Well, Milan Lucic is contemplating his future, and undoubtedly he will have a future in the sport. But what does that look like? You know, does he take some time to focus more on his family? Does he dive right into an administrative role with an NHL club or get into coaching at a lower level? These are all things that Lucic, I believe, is contemplating at this point. But maybe his playing career isn't entirely over at this stage, Gino. It appears to be in North America because, as you said, he was released by the St. Louis Blues organization. But I do know that he does have interest overseas, in Scotland in particular, where they made an offer to Milan Lucic, and now he's got to decide whether or not he wants to continue playing the game or getting involved in some other capacity closer to home.
Nice news, a little closer to home now, Dregs. The Leafs are in Carolina tonight. They continue to try to shake up that power play unit, understandably so. They're 27th in the league right now. What's the latest on that front?
Well, I would anticipate a change to the structure of that power play going up against the Hurricanes in Raleigh tonight. You know, the Toronto Maple Leafs historically, at least in the last season plus, have employed the 5-forward power play. But keep in mind, last year it was successful primarily because Mitch Marner was on the point. He was the quarterback of a rather lethal Toronto Maple Leafs power play. Well, he's not there, and they've opted instead to put Austin Matthews on the point to get him the puck as much as possible. But he looks somewhat out of place. The power play in general with the 5 forwards hasn't worked. And in fact, as we all saw on TSN on Tuesday night against the Florida Panthers, they gave up a short-handed goal, and the forwards on the ice just looked like they were completely out of place. So I believe that Craig Berube will push Austin Matthews back to a very familiar spot on that power play, and that's on the flank, because the numbers don't lie here, Gino. The power play for the Toronto Maple Leafs is not working this season. And despite the fact that, hey, they were good Saturday night in Pittsburgh as a team, they followed that up with a much-needed win against the defending Stanley Cup champions on Tuesday. They need to continue to string these wins in the division, in the Eastern Conference, and getting their power play back on track could be a big part of that.
And they got to do it soon. It's almost Christmas. This is a team that is just now barely finding its legs. All right, that's it for the early edition of Insider Trading. The full version of Insider Trading with Dregs, Pierre, and CJ is coming up on the early edition of SportsCenter.